Hello again. If you're looking for subjects to paint, to practice, magazines are a great place to find really excellent subjects because even just in the advertising, sometimes there's beautiful pictures and you can just kind of pick and choose. So today, what I'm going to do is I found these botanicals, I guess you could call them, in a magazine, and they're a great source of images to copy. So let's do that. Now, one thing you need to know before we go any further is that if you do use someone else's image to make a painting, you can't sell it because it would be copyright infringement. But we're not going to be selling these. We're just using them as examples for what these plants look like. So to begin with, I want my pencil, and I'm going to go with, let me see, I want a hard one. And for some reason, I've misplaced my favorite one. So we'll go with the 2H. I usually use a 4H, and I need to buy a new one because I seem to have lost my other one. But I'm going to pick some of these beautiful wildflowers, and then we can just turn them into watercolors. So this one here is a buttercup. Currently, we have plenty in our lawn because it's early June when I'm doing this, and they are thriving. So a little quick sketch. I'm not putting a whole lot of detail in because I don't really need a whole lot. And these are going to be fairly tiny, kind of life-size to this, I guess you could say. And I'm not aiming for perfection, I'm aiming for impression. So even though my drawing is fairly close, that doesn't matter. Now this one, you can see here that these little stems are on top of this leaf, so I'm going to draw those first, and then the leaf will go behind them. Again, if it doesn't come out quite exactly right, I'm just fine with that. And if it even also almost runs into the other plant, that's okay too. So there's one, and there's another stem down here with a little bud kind of affair, not quite there. Should be a little bit skinnier. I'm not going to worry about the pencil or anything. And then we have the leaf coming up here like this and disappearing behind this little thing. So it just kind of gives us a starting place. Now the cow parsley. Let's do that one starting kind of in the middle here. It's just a little bit lower. And I'm totally winging this, as you can tell. But it gives you an idea about how you can just do simple sketches that give you something to paint. And if it doesn't come out perfectly, that's just fine. In fact, I'd be surprised if it does. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's kind of something funny going on with that one. And then over here, there's another little branch of little fuzzy flowers. Like that. Okay. This is a forget-me-not. My neighbor has some of these in the garden. They're kind of weedy. Let's just put this leaf across there. I need an eraser here. Don't ever feel that you can't erase. That's why they make erasers. So this one will go over this way. I might not have room for all of them here, but that's fine. That's a little flipped over there. This kind of leaf that kind of does another little flip over, and out of it come this little group of flowers. So what I'm aiming for is really loose watercolors. My ability includes really specific, realistic looking things, but I love the look of loose watercolors. So I'm kind of disciplining myself to stay within that. This one, I'm not even familiar with this. This is an English magazine, so it could be that's just something that's indigenous to their areas. But I love these little heart-shaped leaves. And I'm not going to put on nearly as many as they have here because that would take too long. So they actually don't, like when you see it here, they don't line up the little, where the leaves start. They're not couplets, that's what I mean. So just a few of these little cute things. And then this anemone blanda. Not familiar with that one either. I'm going to start with the leaves because they're kind of in front. They look almost like carrot tops. So that's it for the drawing. I'll move this out of the way. But keep it handy. Now, I just got a new kneaded eraser because my old one, as you could see, is hard as rock. Okay, this is a kneaded eraser, so you can squish it around. So what I'm going to do with it is just kind of roll it over top of these and see if it just picks up some of that loose graphite, because I don't want it to be really the focal point of the painting. I don't want it to come through that much. I can also just go like this, but you can see how it's picked up some of that already. This also works, just kind of dab it, but I kind of like this. So it makes it a little bit fainter. I think that's good enough. Now let's talk color and brushes. This is, it's called a number 11 brush, but comparing it to some of my others, it's more like an 8. I would say it's more like an 8. I got these, I ordered them from China, and they must have a different numbering system over there, I don't know. But I'm going to use, I can use this bigger brush, or I can use a smaller one. But what I'm going to do is look at the colors here and kind of paint them in order. So the buttercup, for example, I'm going to just call it a real lemon yellow. Now I had a bit of green in here before, so I want to kind of get that out of there. Just got a little bit contaminated with green. And this is a beautiful buttercup lemon color. So that's the first layer on that one. Now we have this one, which is not lemon yellow. It's more like, let's just move this and move this over. It's more like maybe even this color, which is jaune brillant, also known as brilliant yellow, which it frankly isn't. And I want to put, let's see, move this a little bit more. I want to put just a little bit of green in it. Yeah, maybe a little bit of this yellow too. It still seems a little bit bright to me. Put a little bit more of that cream color. All right, let's try this. That looks like a pretty good color. Let's go with that one. It's sort of a creamy, a cream color with a touch of yellow and a touch of green. So that's the color I'm kind of going with. Putting this yellow into this forget-me-not so that I remember to actually paint around it. And also we've got a bit of yellow here. It's also a yellow green. I want to take some moisture out of the brush though. So I just press along the back of the brush there, where the bristles are. and we'll leave that like that. Now the cow parsleys, they're white, but there's really no, I have a white watercolor, but it's kind of opaque and it has a purpose, but it doesn't really work. So I'm going to use this color here for this cow parsley. And actually, I want to take a little bit more of the pencil off. Now, I want a paler green in here. And like I said, this is, the goal here is loose watercolor. It's not precise. It's not meant to be realistic. I'm going for a loose look here, which is, as I mentioned, my favorite. Oh, look at that. I kind of missed a thing there. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna paint it in. So there's a little grouping there. And now I'm going to use a slightly darker green and you do some stems. So this one actually comes right up there. Nice thing about this brush is it has a nice fine point. So as long as I don't press down on it, it's going to make a nice fine line. See that? So now all I have to do is just follow my pencil lines. And I can do that quite easily. I should have started over here though. Actually, I'm going to move over here and do it because I don't want to have to put my hand in wet paint to finish the page. And notice how I'm holding the brush almost straight up and down. I'm using not very much water and I'm mixing it on the palette. Now the colors on this is a little bit darker, but when it's really young stems, they're not that dark. But I'm going to pick up some more color here, and also this sap green. This sap green, I forget what company it is, what make it is. I've never liked it because it's kind of rough. I like more of a gel-like paint. In fact, and it's really hard to kind of get going. So when it's gone, it's really gone. I'll use some other brand. However, it's not a bad color. It's just not my favorite. So for the leaves here, because they are a different shade, I've actually got a little bit too much moisture in my brush anyway. I can borrow it from where it is on the page. So I'll put some more in there. And then this is actually quite dark. So let's use a little Hooker's green. Mix it with some, maybe this color. Yeah, that works. Okay. And then again, we'll just do a little stem down here. And I will be going back and adding some more things like shadows and variations. I'm going to go back over here to my cow parsley and use this color for the stems. And notice the stem gets a little bit thicker as we go down, which is normal with plants. A little bit darker stuff right along the bottom of these. So while I have it in my brush, I might as well do those. I'm going to leave this one till after because it doesn't have a green stem. So while I'm working with green, I will do all the green ones. Again, I'm going to take some moisture out of my brush. And then, now this one is actually quite a bright green. So let's mix some of that in there. And the leaves, how they're kind of folded over. I'm going to do those first. I'm going to let that dry and come back to it. And now in the meantime, I'm going to get some of this bright green and put it in these little leaves here and some over here. See how easy this is? It's just, you make a little scruffy sketch and then you just paint it in. It's kind of like paint by numbers, and only you get to pick the colors. And you have, it's like doing a puzzle when you have the box lid to look at. See how cute they are? And they're just simple, you know, simple, simple. Okay, we've got these little hearts, and they are actually quite dark. So I'm using Hooker's Green, and I'm going to pick up some Payne's Gray, which is a deep blue, to make that green a dark green. And I'm going to do all these little heart-shaped leaves in this dark green. Again, a little too much water in the brush makes them just too wet. It's too hard to control. And when my brush gets a little less wet, I can come back and pick some of that moisture up. But really, you can just dab this paint on like this, make it look like little hearts. And then I'll take all that out of there. I'll take all the moisture out, and I'll come back here and go like this. Just slurps it right up. See that? Okay, now we want to do the stem, which is the same color as the leaves, pretty much. So we don't have to wait for them to dry because they're not going to cause each other any trouble. And then some of them even have enough moisture in the leaf itself that I can pick up that paint and just pull it into the stem. And my brush has a really nice fine point because it's new. And then we go over here and look at this. It's kind of a paler green, like a fresh green. So I'll leave that like that. Now over here we have almost kind of a pinky color, pinky, I don't know, burgundy. What would make a good, maybe this. Yeah, okay, wait. Gotta get rid of some of that. Just put some of this cream color in, creamy green. I think that's almost perfect. All right, suck out some of that moisture and let's see how it goes. It's perfect as far as I'm concerned. As in, it's perfectly what I wanted. But I really have to keep my brush upright, otherwise you get fat spots like that. And this goes up a little bit into the base of the flower, just a little bit. I have to come back and do some greens in there. Okay, my little buttercup is dry, so I need to put a shadow in there, and I prefer purples for shadows. So let's try this. I'm going to just put a little bit of a shadow. That's too dark. When I wet it, it re-wets the yellow, so it actually works quite well that way. All right, let's get this purple over here, and this is almost a little bit more magenta. I think I'll just go with straight purple. I wouldn't, if I were doing like big flowers, I wouldn't need to do that, but you can see how it kind of puddles itself. there are my flowers. Now I'm going to put their names on them because that way I can remember. So I need to move this. This is Anemone blanda. Shepherd's purse. Forget-me-not. Cow parsley. Let's see, I'll put buttercup up here. I still have a few little spots of wetness. This is a primrose. I think I have room to do cow parsley here. Now, I am really happy with this because it's funny when you add something like, I think just writing on this has made it way more interesting. But when you just look at it, it's like, this is pretty fun. And I want just a couple more little hearts here. So here's my suggestion. Look in magazines and books and whatever, and see if you can find images that appeal to you. If it looks like it'd be fun to paint, and don't worry about it being hard to paint, you can actually just pick something out. So if I were to just flip through here, I could go, oh, well, this is cool. I could do that guy's face, or I could do one of these puffins, or I could do food, you know. Try an artichoke. There's lots to look at there. Here's a cabin. Here's some birds. So great things to paint. Even this is a hand that you could use to practice on. And yeah, lots, really lots. There's a nice little rabbit painting. This is English Country Living. So it's the British edition of Country Living, which is a beautiful magazine and has lots in it. So there's that. Please subscribe to my channel and click the little bell and get the notifications, and I'll see you next time.